Hail and well met, adventurers. I am your host, the Dungeon Master, and I bid thee welcome to a brand new Let's Play. The first Let's Play of January 2019, following the wake of Steins Gate. This is Let's Play Revelations Persona. The first game released by Atlus in 1996 in the Revelations series, of which was fairly short-lived. Revelations Persona was originally released in Japan under the title of Megami Ibanroku Persona. And believe it or not, it's a JRPG. It's been a while since I've done a role-playing Let's Play on this channel. Seeing how I've been mostly focused on Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero, as they're both visual novels. But there was actually more to the story of Persona's development, because Megami Ibanroku Persona, or Revelations Persona, I'll use either one interchangeably, is actually a spin-off series of another JRPG franchise by Atlus that is extremely well known, which is the Shin Megami Tensei series, which is also a kind of semi-spin-off of the Megami Tensei, or the Megaten series as it's informally known. There is a huge difference between the Shin Megami Tensei series and the Persona series. Shin Megami Tensei focuses more on personal alignment. Do you side with Order and angelic figures, divinity, and so on and so forth? Do you side with chaos, devils, demons, anarchy, disorder, and the overthrow of civilization? Or do you side with a neutral path, when you don't really try to align too much with either side, and generally try to keep humanity from being consumed by both the forces of order and chaos? The Persona series is actually takes a completely different approach to it. It's more philosophical and theological, and it has a lot of interesting underlying themes that I will actually get into over the course of this Let's Play, because I don't want this intro being too long before the episode gets underway. Suffice to say, Persona actually has a somewhat interesting history to it that isn't related to the Shin Megami Tensei series, but rather to the actual North American localization, which is the one that I'm playing. There were more than a few notable things that have been changed for the sake of localization, and I, like so many others before me, am going to point this out as I go through this LP. I won't point out all of them, but you should know the ones that I'm definitely going to be mentioning, especially in this first episode. For a spin-off series, Persona actually did pretty well, and actually has a number of sequels. The duology Persona 2, Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment, and then there was a whole year without Persona games until the advent of Shin Megami Tensei Persona 3, which is the first game to actually be released under the Shin Megami Tensei title, as far as the Persona games were concerned. Then, of course, there was later Persona 4, and a short while ago, the recent long-awaited addition to the series, the now iconic Persona 5. But I'm going to be starting at the very beginning. I'm going to be starting with the classic Revelation series Persona. Finally, before we finally get started on the story, I'm going to give a shout out to veteran Shin Megami Tensei Let's Player and commentator Sir Lionheart, who is noted for his not only his Shin Megami Tensei and Persona Let's Plays, but also the hilarious video known as the top 10 Shin Megami Tensei BS moments, and I will probably feature a link in the video description if you want to watch that video. I would have hoped to actually have him as a guest commentator, maybe in one episode. But I'm going to be flying solo. But also a shout out to the duo of Matt Metalli and Some Call Me Johnny of the Super Gaming Bros, who actually did a Let's Play of Revelations Persona a while ago, and I've actually seen it, and I found it hilarious. I have actually played Revelations Persona numerous times, although I never actually finished it. I did manage to get to the end, but there is a lot to cover in Revelations Persona, and the reason I've been talking about this on the load screen here is because I don't want the intro to keep cycling through, as is the norm for mainly classic PS1 games, and most games in the 90s era in general. Without further ado, I'm going to embark on the Jungian adventure that is Revelations Persona. We begin this story with a high school seance. Wait up, Brad. We're going to play Persona? What, are you stupid? Well, considering the fact that we're already playing Persona, that comment there is rather moot. Almost as if it's a game within a game. Mark is a troublemaker who gets into mischief. He doesn't get along with Nate. In Megami Ibanroku Persona, Mark here is originally known as Masao Inaba. That's his Japanese name, for those of you who couldn't already tell. But I'm sure many of you did. I'm actually going to do a bit of an edit in the post, so in the final episode of this, which will feature on YouTube, just here, you can actually see Masao's original incarnation. He wears a yellow beanie, and lo and behold, his skin color is drastically different from that of Mark, who wears a yellow baseball cap with a completely different logo on it, in the localized version of Revelations Persona. Why they changed Mark's ethnicity can only be described as American localization, because of course this actually opens up in the school of St. Hermelin High in the town of Mikagecho in Japan, but in Revelations Persona this game actually takes place in the same town with the same school, except it's been retitled Lunavale. Localization. Now it's Brad's turn to speak. No, you're stupid. I don't think that's how you're is supposed to be in this context, Brad. Persona will work, trust me. Man, I'll even bet you on it. I am not going to be doing any sort of impressive voice acting on my part, and I'm probably actually not even going to be narrating half of these later on as this Let's Play continues. Brad demands a lot of attention. He's conceited and very irresponsible. Brad is known in Megami Ibanroku Persona as Hidehiko Uesugi. His nickname is Brown, hence the American localization nickname of Brad. He is actually one of the few characters whose palette actually remains relatively unchanged in the localization translation. Very well then, I'll take that bet. A loser treats everyone to dinner at Peace Diners, so free meal if whoever wins the bet. Should also like to briefly mention this rather unique ambient music that is quintessential to Revelations Persona. I will of course be playing the, as you can see, the classic PlayStation 1 version of Revelations Persona, which actually was remade via a port to the PlayStation Portable, which, although it actually kept a lot of the elements from the Japanese version of Persona changed things up a lot. For one, the animation layout was significantly different visually, and they actually removed and remixed a lot of the music that you will actually be hearing in this Let's Play adventure. Which is why I'm doing this, because the music in the original Persona is pretty impressive. And seems like Alana is going to be taking the bet on Brad as well. Oh, she's betting with Brad. Alana is a troublemaker and total airhead. She's very responsible. The Persona 1 manual actually summarizes her up in one word: bimbo. That's the manual talking, not me. She is essentially the Valley Girl of the group, hence localization. But I'll just transition over to the her Megami Ibanroku incarnation, where her skin is of a slightly different pallor indeed, and her hair is actually been dyed somewhat. But in Revelations Persona, most of the characters have basically been localized as, well, Caucasian, except of course for Mark, obviously. Our classmate Ellen bets on Brad too. That's 2 or rather 3 to 1 against Mark. Ellen studied in Europe and came back to America with beauty and knowledge. Well, she certainly studied overseas. Now, Ellen in Revelations has long blonde hair, but as you can see here in the Megami Ibanroku version, she actually has dark black hair. And she's actually, something I forgot to mention her Japanese name. Her Japanese name is Eriko Kirishima, or Ellie. I got ahead of myself there, and for that I entirely apologize. But Mark's now wondering why Alana and Ellen are joining against him with and siding with Brad. So basically, the gist of the situation is that we're all playing some sort of seance game, coincidentally titled the Persona game, believe it or not, hence the name drop. And Brad seems to think that it will work, and Mark doesn't seem to think it does, which is basically summarizing what we've just seen 5 minutes ago, or 5 seconds ago. But now we have the 2 remaining members of the group, besides yours truly. Nate is the heir to the Trinity Family Trust. He's also very bossy. Nate is known as Kei Nanjo, almost said Kate Nanjo there for a second, of the Nanjo Group, which is a financial family group that is quite influential in Mikage-jo. And also, as you can see, his Megami Ibanroku palette is significantly different than that of his Revelations series appearance. But one thing that hasn't changed with Nate is he actually wears a green ascot or cravat, and you can't see, you can just barely see the black pixelation at the bottom of his portrait, but he actually wears a giant number 1 on that cravat, which is something that actually wasn't changed in localization. And there will be a few slight emulation glitches, unfortunately. Again, it's actually somewhat hard to avoid about that. Basically, Nate and Yuki here appear to be nonchalant about the bet in general. Yuki, a very trustworthy and responsible girl whom many students respect and trust. That indeed, because or I should say that is true indeed, because Yuki, whose full name is Yukino Mayuzumi, is one of the more respected students in St. Hermelin High, and she also actually gets away with localization similar to Brad. I will of course be referring to Brad and Yuki by their Revelations names instead of their Megami Ibanroku ones, and they're not the only ones who have actually been affected by localization, but we'll get to that much later. So now Mark is annoyed. He's got 3 people against him and 2 no-shows. And now Mark is asking me directly who I'm going to bet on. So I have a choice. I can either bet on Mark and have it 2 against 3 with 2 abstentions, or I can bet with Brad and side with the well, make it an incredibly one-sided fight, as it were. But I, or rather the main character presented before you, actually does have a name in the manga of Megami Ibanroku Persona, which is, I believe, Naoya Todo. And here I'll bring up his Megami Ibanroku incarnation, in which he has tanned skin, dark black hair, and he actually has his right ear, I believe, has a piercing to it. Or maybe it's his left. You'll see which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's his right ear, though. But going back to the going back here to his Revelations incarnation, Naoya now has no piercings whatsoever. Is completely pale and has red hair for some reason, in a hairstyle that is completely different from his original incarnation. But lo and behold, I am actually going to be betting on Brad. Looks like it's a one-sided bet. But now we can finally get this Persona game underway, so to speak. Now everyone takes their positions. I love that saying, here I go. It always reminds me of, it never fails to bring up memories of Hi, I'm Daisy's Metal Gear Solid comic dubs. I'm pretty sure that's the person who did those. Yeah, I should probably get back to this. So anyway, you can see the 4 of us with, well, you can just barely see me standing in the middle there. There are 4 people standing in the 4 corners of the room. Each person basically has to say something along the lines of Persona, Persona, please come to us, which is the chant for the seance. And as Alana demonstrates, not Alama, I hate getting myself tongue-tied, Alana has demonstrated that each person now has to walk counterclockwise to the opposite corner. Now Brad says Persona, Persona comes here and walks jauntily and unfortunately somewhat laggily to the to Mark's corner, and Mark is questioning why we're doing this in the first place. It's for all you can eat. Hurry up. I should mention that these first few episodes are going to be fairly slow. This is basically just to set the tone of Revelations Persona, and there will be a lot of world building and exploration before we finally get into the meat and grit of Persona properly. Of course, Mark only says Persona once, in a rather sullen fashion. But I wonder if the Persona game will actually let him slide with that. And now it's finally it's Ellen's turn. Persona, Persona, please come to us. The final incantation and the final part of the ritual, seance, whatever you want to call it, is completed. And of course, we being the main character, we have to stand perfectly square in the middle of the room.
Here it goes! Ah! I'm out! I'm checking my email! I'm gonna check my email! It's fucking garbage!
And, yeah. Doesn't look like anything's happened, which is, annoying to Brad. You might want to rephrase that question there, Alana. In fact, better yet, you probably don't want the answer to that question. At all. Well, Mark is now crowing his own horn. We performed the Persona game ritual, and it seems that nothing has happened. So, it's appears that the Persona game seance is a high school ritual that has now officially been debunked, so to speak. And Yuki is annoyed that we've been wasting everyone's time. Well, I blame Mark and Brad for that. It wasn't my fault. We were just participating. Yeah, I would actually say Mark didn't have his heart into his incantation there, but I don't think he's going to let this go, Brad. Yeah, so Mark's crowing loudly at the prospect of a free dinner. But all is not as it seems, because Nate has noticed something. Yeah, about that bet, Mark. Guess what? You lose. Pay up. But more importantly, there appears to be a ghost girl in the room with us. I don't think it's a projection, unless you're talking about an astral projection of sorts. Last time we did this, we only heard sounds. This time we're seeing images. Well, Elena has... well, Ellen, not Elena. Me combining Ellen and Alana's names together. My apologies. Ellen is saying something that is rather telling about our performance of the Persona game. Basically, for those who can't figure it out by now, this is actually the second time that our little merry band of high school students has actually performed the Persona game. Hence why Ellen and Alana both decided to bet on Brad in the first place. Because something happened before, and now something has happened again. A girl in white, and she's crying, and she's asking for our help. But, oh dear. Okay. Supernatural spectral green lightning inside of a classroom. I think we may have stirred up a hornet's nest. And again, it could be worse. At least we didn't use a Ouija board. Those things are nothing but trouble. Green lightning is shooting out from the ceiling, Nate. I think that's exactly what's happening. The ghost girl is intriguing, the lightning not so much. In fact, I would probably recommend that we actually get out of this classroom ASAP. I feel like we shouldn't be standing in the middle of the room like this, begging for trouble. At least Alana's panicking. And so is Yuki, actually trying to do something. It's too little too late. Yuki, Mark, Nathan. Oh god. Well, we all fell down, except for...
Welcome. My name is Philemon. I live between the world of consciousness and unconsciousness. So tell me, who are you?
Who are we indeed? And just before I cut off there, before the beginning of that FMV sequence, I was about to say that we all fell down except for Brad, Alana, and Ellen, of all people. Because of course, as we just all witnessed, Yuki, Mark, Nate, and of course myself, we all got struck by the spectral green lightning. And now we're in a realm, as our mysterious host Philemon, as he calls himself, has described, the world between consciousness and unconsciousness, otherwise known as the collective unconsciousness. I believe the platform that we are in this dimensional realm is known as the Temple of the Butterfly. Now originally, if this were the original Megami Ibanroku Persona, or the Persona PSP remake, I would be calling myself by the name of Naoya Todo, which is the main character's actual name, so to speak, or the one that people know him for the best. But in this instance, in this Let's Play adventure, I'm going to refer to myself by my usual title, Dungeon Master, or abbreviated to DM. Because that is who I am, and that is who I will be in this particular Let's Play adventure. So now we shall answer Philemon's question.
Excellent. There are not many who know their own identity when they have come to this point. It seems you have passed the first test. By the way, have you noticed you carry more than one you in yourself? Perhaps the merciful you, the graceful angel you, or the cruel, demonic you. We live behind many masks, and you may at this very moment be living behind many masks. But you claimed your name, proving you know who you really are. I admire your strong will, and bestow my power unto you. Persona, the power to call on others within you. Sometimes merciful, sometimes cruel. These cells are embedded deep within your soul. This power will help you through your quest into the future. Go back now into your world, the world that's locked between time and space.
And now our consciousness rises back to a waking reality. And we can hear voices. So it seems that we weren't the only ones who had that out-of-body experience. It seems that the others who were struck by lightning certainly did as well. And it seems that we're in the school infirmary of all things. Indeed, we are finally conscious. Dr. Beverly is the school doctor. Cooking is not one of her specialties. That's kind of a bit of understatement there. But I actually believe that, again, apologies for sound glitches. Hopefully they won't be as bad in future episodes. Dr. Beverly is known as Natsumi Tsukino or Tsukumo or something to that effect in Megami Iban Roku Persona. And it should go without saying that her localized name of Dr. Beverly is a not so subtle reference to Dr. Beverly Crusher of the Starship Enterprise, who made her debut in Star Trek The Next Generation. For some reason, Atlas decided to lay upon the localization of Revelations Persona a chock-a-block full of pop culture references. We will definitely be seeing more of them as this Let's Play unfolds. There appears to be our classroom or homeroom teacher. He appears to be concerned for us, and with good reason. And she is genuinely concerned about her students and their well-being. Miss Smith is a sweet person with a bright personality. She is our teacher. Now, Miss Smith is known in Megami Iban Roku Persona as Saeko Takami, and she's a very down-to-earth, no-nonsense teacher indeed. She, along with Dr. Beverly, actually also managed to avoid palette changes in between localization. But she is someone to be relied upon. Well, it is her responsibility. Mark trying to downplay the situation. Which earns him an admonishment from Miss Smith. So it seems that she's now been brought up to speed. That's actually not a silly idea given what just happened. And apparently Mark was scheduled to be in detention, but fortunately he just got a get out of jail free card. That is a very good question. Well, we could have had a concussion when we fell. Alternatively, we probably should get ourselves checked on the account that we were actually struck by bolts of lightning. I'm amazed we're all still conscious, much less alive. But we shall take up Miss Smith's request to actually go to the hospital and see how our health is really doing. And it appears that another student is at the hospital at this moment. A student named Mary. Well, seeing as we'll be in the same place, we'll talk to her while we're there. But Mary unfortunately has been at the hospital for a very long period of time. I'm sure she'll be grateful to see us, indeed. We can actually move now. Now, Persona does have a interesting room layout with this isometric view, and I press down to walk that way, up to walk that way, and that's left and right respectively. And there appears to be a box in front of this cupboard here. The first item of the Let's Play, a herb, which I suppose is going to be quite useful. Very reminiscent of Biohazard there. apparently we were supposed to be organizing a track meet. And Miss Smith doesn't know why we were unconscious, and she probably wouldn't believe us if we actually told her the truth. Because we don't even believe it, even though we witnessed it with our own eyes. Apparently we're a month behind the meet, or the meet is next month, and she's worrying about cancelling it. Well, we might have to, given what's just happened. And Mark seems to have an idea where the hospital is. In the northeast part of Lunavale. And we do get a map, so that's very convenient. A map is extremely useful. Yeah, Mary has been in the hospital for an insanely long time. We will do that. And I'll talk to Nate, who is very uptight in his role as the young master of the Trinity family group. Mr. Moneybags, as it were. And Beverly is now telling us about the new plant that she's put in here to brighten up the room. We'll actually be examining that plant, which is over there in the corner. It's actually very imperative to talk to that plant, and it's also possible to get stuck on certain objects in the middle of the room. This is the Augustus tree, and for some reason it's actually talking to us. How and why a tree can actually speak to us itself, with nobody else realizing this, is something else that needs to be explained. But the Augustus tree does have a purpose. We can actually save our adventures. Indeed, instead of typewriters, we now have trees. Now, in the original Megami Ibon Roku Persona game, the Augustus tree is originally titled as the Agastya tree, with a different spelling. There it is just now. And, yeah, it just they changed the name. But, we are definitely going to save. I will save on memory card 1. And there is a save that I originally had previously. If you don't have a save, then the load game option doesn't appear on the main menu. But I'm going to save here and override this save. If you save, the old data will be erased. Yes, we will erase the file. Saving file. Do not remove the memory card. Don't worry, I won't. Ah, the classic PS1 era. Those were good times. File has been saved. Marvelous. So, I think that is a good place to end this first episode of my Let's Play adventure of Revelations Persona. When we return adventurers, we shall actually explore the various classrooms of St. Hermelin High and speak to the students in order to get a better sense of what exactly is going on at the moment in the town of Mikage-cho, aka Lunavale. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.